Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Herzog recently did an open letter, an open appeal to President Donald Trump as the South African reaching out to the United States. As an American reaching out to South Africa, I'd like to make the following open letter appeal to President Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, I'm no fool. I realize that much of what's said is for effect, it's political, and I get that. I also don't think you're a fool or an idiot. I think that you're rather savvy. And so I'm going to make the following request, and that is that when you have your meeting with President Donald Trump next week, that it's honest and forthright and really discusses the issue here in South Africa. There's no way that you don't know or believe that infrastructure is collapsing, that your party has become as popular as an infectious disease. It's not popular is the point. That the government of national unity is not working effectively for South Africans, that roads are crumbling, ports are horrible, that there are actors in South Africa intentionally ratcheting up racial tensions between ethnic minorities and the majority of the population. You must be fully aware of this. And also recognize that you find yourself in a difficult spot in your party, and that you're leader of the party plus your president of the republic. What I would ask is that you do not go with the arrogance that many South African politicians display, particularly towards America. I'm not saying you're going to, but I'm asking that you don't. And don't try to lecture President Trump. First off, President Trump is not informed about South Africa by Elon Musk or by Twatterboss or by other folks on social media. President Trump, despite the appearances, how he's put in a negative light by the media on a daily basis, is well informed. We have 19 national intelligence agencies that inform the president every day with presidential daily briefs. He gets intelligence briefing. He knows what's going on here. I've served in that system years ago and know how it works. And I know that presidents are fully informed about events like this. So let's not make any assumptions that Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. He does know what he's talking about. Now, you may disagree with the language that he uses, and that's your prerogative, Mr. President. However, if you honestly think that going to President Trump and offering him access to rare earth elements in the Cryil or to natural gas deposits in the Cryil or off the coast of South Africa is going to be sufficient to change his position vis-a-vis the refugee program, which is open to all ethnic minorities in South Africa who suffer racial discrimination. There's a shocker for most people who didn't listen to me. But he's now opened it to all those folks. If you think that's going to change President Trump's position, I don't think that your advisors are giving you the best advice. The reality here is President Trump would be interested in transactional things, but he also wants to see some movement on broad-based black economic empowerment, no doubt. He also wants to see some genuine, tangible efforts at rural security improvements, maybe the reimposition or announcement of the formation of new commando regiments. I don't know. I'm just giving you ideas. You can take it any way you want. It is, of course, you're the presidency, and it is South Africa. I have no say here. Just friendly advice. And it's not cheeky. I know where I'm coming from. I understand South Africa, I understand America, and the political system of both. And I'm just stating that simply offering something that is a transactional thing is not going to change anything. It won't move the needle in a direction that South Africa needs it to go. And South Africans desperately need two things to happen. Number one, this relationship which your country has rubbished, not the Americans, despite the media lies, despite the politicians' things. The U.S. didn't do the Lady R. The U.S. didn't collapse your infrastructure. The U.S. did not create racist laws in South Africa. Those are not the things the U.S. did. The U.S. did not train Chinese fighter pilots at South African schools with NATO and U.S. pilots. We didn't do that. The U.S. did not go to Tanzania and participate in Chinese communist workshops on how to run a socialist nation. We didn't do that. Those are your decisions, your actions as a nation, either public or private activities, and that's your prerogative. It's not our place to tell you what you can and can't do. But when things go against the United States national interest and against our friends, partners, and allies, we have an obligation to step up and say, hey, you're harming us. It's not helping us. And when we give you $500 million a year, 9 billion rand, I said 20 billion rand, I said 20, yeah. No, it's a 10 billion rand a year. 10 billion rand a year in free money for decades and $8.1 billion to help fight the scourge of HIV. And we get called racist, and our president is disparaged by ambassadors, and things like this happen. These aren't actions of America. These are actions of South Africa. And I'm asking that, not that you have humility, but you approach this not from a political standpoint, but from a tangible, practical standpoint in order to improve relations. Because South Africa desperately needs to improve relations with the United States. 4% of your trade is, 4% of your GDP is trade with the United States. If Donald Trump becomes angry about what's going on here, he could very easily embargo trade with South Africa, and that would destroy 4% of your economy overnight. For an economy growing at less than 1%, which is lower than inflation, you're already falling behind with population growth and behind inflation. You can't afford a 4% loss GDP. It's not a threat, just a statement of fact. Let's work together to get this thing situated and resolved. Also, I say this with great humility and also disappointment that your government has yet to send a trade representative to the United States. President Trump announces reciprocal tariffs to try to get these artificial barriers and genuine barriers and tariffs against the United States lowered to a fair level so that we're on par instead of the world taking advantage of the United States, like the European Union charging 10% tariff on our car imports while we charge 2.5%. It's 400% of what we charge. Plus, they throw VAT on top of that, making our cars prohibitively expensive in Europe, even though they're good quality. He's trying to get rid of those things. It has now been almost, well, let's see, you've got 90 days. It's been almost a month and a half since President Trump temporarily suspended the reciprocal tariffs, but still kept some in place. Where's your trade representative? Is your trip going to resolve this? I hope so, but I doubt it. If not, in less than 2 months, South Africans will face a 31% tariff on all their exports, and your economy will be grievously harmed. I urge the president of South Africa, I urge the delegation going to Washington to discuss this and leave a competent trade representative to negotiate with the United States a bilateral deal in your favor. Stop clinging to the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. It's dead. There is very little appetite in Congress for the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act to be renewed as a law. The United States has gotten very little from this for 25 years. We've gotten very little from the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. That doesn't mean it shouldn't continue, because it costs us virtually nothing to help African states send their products duty-free, because it's so little trade. But we've been rubbished by countries in the Sahel, we've been rubbished by South Africa for our generosity for 25 years. And that is over. Congress has had enough. So forget about AGOA. It's unlikely to return. Whether South Africa's done something right or wrong, doesn't matter, it's not germane. Negotiate a bilateral trade agreement with the United States in favor of South African exports for your automotive industry, your agricultural industries. Make it happen. Let's start shipping Veldschoenen to the United States. Okay? All right, there's my open message to President Cyril Ramaphosa. I hope he takes it to heart. It's meant with nothing but love and understanding for South Africa. And I thank you very much, Cryil, and bye-bye, donkey. South Africa, what do you say? Do you agree with my message? Do you think that this is the right message for President Ramaphosa before he visits President Trump? I hope so. Doesn't have to listen to me, but I'm not exactly some oak sitting around eating chips or crisp on the couch who's never been there and never done that. So take it for what you want. Cheers, South Africa.